Do you know why most people are unhappy? It's not because life is cruel, it's because they don't understand how to live. Sit with me, and I will share what few realize. Once a king ruled over a prosperous kingdom, but he was tormented. Despite his wealth and power, fear and anxiety followed him like shadows. One day, a wise traveler passed through his court. The king, desperate, asked, "How can I be free of my suffering?" The traveler smiled and answered with 5 truths. Truths you too must understand. The first truth: act, but do not cling to the fruit of your actions. Too often we act only for reward, and when we don't get what we want, we suffer. The king had built palaces and fought wars to secure his legacy, but it was never enough. Freedom begins when you do what's right because it is right, not for praise or gold. Are you doing things for approval or fulfillment? Think carefully. The second truth: control the mind, or it will control you. The king had everything, but his mind wandered, obsessing over the past, fearing the future. He lived nowhere but in his thoughts. If you can discipline the mind through practice, you gain freedom no crown can offer. Tell me, young one, do you rule your thoughts or do they rule you? Third truth: detachment is not abandoning life, it is mastering desire. People think giving up attachment means you lose everything. No, it means no thing can control you. The king was attached to wealth, but no treasure ever brought him peace. Freedom is not in possessing, but in releasing. Ask yourself, what are you gripping that's causing you pain? The fourth truth is perhaps the hardest. Success and failure must be treated as the same. The king sought victory in battle, but when he lost, he drowned in despair. Do you see? Life will give you gain one day and loss the next. Both are temporary. A wise person learns to stay calm amid both. Would you still walk your path if it led to failure? If the answer is no, perhaps you are on the wrong path. The final truth: surrender to a higher purpose. When the king surrendered his ego and lived for the good of his people, his heart lightened. He found devotion, not just to God, but to a life of service. You may not be a king, but you too have a purpose. Surrendering to it will bring you peace beyond anything you can imagine. Laurene Powell Jobs, the wife of late Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, to Chris Martin of famous music band Coldplay, all visited the Maha Kumbh Mela 2025. But do you know why? Let me ask you something. What if everything you've worked for, every step you've taken, was leading you to the wrong destination? What if the very thing you're chasing isn't what your soul truly needs? But before we begin, I have 2 requests. Have you ever experienced the Maha Kumbh Mela? Share your story in the comments below, and one lucky commenter will get a shout out in the next video. Stay with me till the end. There's a story waiting, a story that may shift your entire perspective on life. Now let me take you on a journey through the Bhagavad Gita's lessons, the lessons from the holiest book of the most ancient religion in practice, Hinduism. Lessons that become even more profound when viewed through the lens of the Maha Kumbh Mela, which happens once in 144 years, happening this year. Normally millions, but this year billions of people are coming to the Maha Kumbh Mela for blessings. Yet no matter how much we seek control over life, control is an illusion. Krishna told Arjuna, "You have the right to action, but not to the fruits of that action." Think of the river Ganga, the longest river of India and the holiest for the Hindus. It flows over rocks, around bends, without resistance. It trusts the path. But we humans resist. We fight the current. We demand life go our way, and when it doesn't, we suffer. True peace lies in surrendering to life's flow, trusting we'll reach the ocean in our own time. Are you fighting your life's current? What would happen if you let go? Life can change in an instant. Recently, during the Maha Kumbh Mela, a stampede broke out. Thousands ran in terror. Many lost their lives. I met a woman who was there. She had come to pray for peace, but left with tragedy. She lost her husband. Her words still echo in my heart. I thought I had time, but death came without warning. We live like life is infinite, like there's always more time to love, forgive, or pursue what matters. But time is not guaranteed. Krishna's greatest lesson to Arjuna was, act now, surrender now, love now, because tomorrow may never come. What would you do differently if today was your last day? The next lesson says, detachment doesn't mean apathy. It means caring deeply without obsessing over results. Krishna's wisdom was clear. Work for the sake of the work, not for its reward. Think about your life. How often have you linked your worth to a promotion, exam result, or relationship? When those things fail, we break. But when we focus on doing our best and leaving the results to the universe, peace follows. Can you let go of the results and trust the process? Let me share another story. During one Maha Kumbh Mela, a fire broke out in a crowded tent. People screamed and ran. But amidst the chaos, one monk sat perfectly still. When the fire was extinguished, someone asked him, "Why didn't you run?" He replied, "I surrendered to the moment. If it was my time, it was my time. If not, I would survive." This is mindfulness in its purest form. Even in chaos, we can find stillness. Even in fear, we can find peace. Can you find stillness in your life's storms? If you still doubt yourself and feel unguided like a kite without string, the next lesson is for you. Krishna told Arjuna, "The greatest guide is within." But most of us never sit still long enough to hear our inner voice. Stillness clears the mind. Like a river without ripples, our true reflection appears when we're still. In that reflection lies truth. What does your heart tell you? What truth have you been too busy to see? One young boy I met at the Kumbh Mela had spent years training to become a priest. He did everything right, yet deep inside, he felt empty. One night he sat by the river, ready to abandon his path. But an elderly sage approached and asked, "What is the source of your suffering?" The boy replied, "I have done everything I was supposed to, yet my heart feels heavy." The sage smiled gently and said, "Follow what expands your heart. If it's sacrifice, then it's your path. If not, then do what your inner self asks for." Remember the term in Sanskrit, aham brahmasmi, that depicts that God resides inside us. So hear to your inner God and you will find the way. We all have moments when our path feels heavy, but heaviness signals we are not following our truth. If it's truth, then naturally you will feel energetic and light to sprint like a fawn. What path would expand your heart right now? If you've been to the Maha Kumbh Mela, you've seen chaos and peace exist side by side. I ask you, what lesson did it leave in your heart? Share it below, and one lucky soul will receive a shout-out in our next story. Until then, act without attachment. Control the mind, master desire, accept all outcomes. Surrender to purpose. This is freedom, and it is yours to claim. Namaste.